My name is Larissa, and I will, get everybody in here. I lead our success and our support team, and here with me is Saad, our VP of business business develop. Don't
Growth and
quote me on this.
partnerships.
There we go.
It
There we
changed.
go.
It
It
changed.
changed. We're constantly changing, evolving. So here we go. But awesome. And yeah, I'm just going to share my screen in just one second and take you over. Sure, I see our chat. So just to let everyone know, this is kind of a demo to kind of discuss Baselane in more detail, let you know what we're all about. Very excited to help you get started with Baselane and learn a little more. Just so we all know what our agenda is, we're going to do our introduction, which we kind of done so far, and just an overview of Baselane, get into the nitty gritty, the banking, the integrated bookkeeping, and then of course the hassle-free property management tools like rent collection, tenant screening, and all that good stuff. And then of course QA. So 100% just some housekeeping rules. Feel free to ask any questions throughout this demo. I'll be moderating. Saad here will be kind of discussing a little more about Baselane, deep diving in a demo, but feel free to ask any questions as they come. And, I'll save some room for us to kind of go over them, but very much looking forward to getting started. And thank you so much for joining. So that said, sorry. What is Baselane? So you'll see here, Baselane is it's a banking and finance platform built for real estate investors and landlords to thrive. So one of the benefits of Baselane is it's built for investors of all sizes and strategies. And we really focus on three core features, banking built for real estate, with integrated bookkeeping and hassle-free rent collection, with, of course, additional products like, as I mentioned, tenant screening, lease creation, different things like that, all in one. What I love about this specifically, though, is, the banking that is built for real estate investors. I'm sure we're all out here kind of wondering, currently everything is put into one place. All of your rent, maybe you have short-term investments, mid-term investments out there, and everything goes into one bank account. With Baselane, you can have every bank account open for your series LLCs, your businesses, sole props into one platform. So you can see everything live. Additionally, what I kind of want to present here is investors are using tools, so many different tools, right? You are having everything dumped into one bank account. You need to have a separate account for security deposits. You want to automate your bills, but how are you going to be able to keep up with that and also the bookkeeping? And that's kind of where Baselane comes in. The banking has that integrated bookkeeping. When you're transacting with Baselane banking and opening virtual bank accounts, which we'll get into in a little more detail shortly, you're going to be able to you're going to be able to really streamline. You can have dedicated accounts for your properties. You can have dedicated accounts for your security deposits. It's all in one platform, which I love. And I also love the fact that when you're transacting with our banking product, you are actually doing the bookkeeping. So it's saving you countless of hours sitting at home and kind of going through all of your, statements, transactions. And instead with Baselane banking, you can automate that. And we'll kind of dive deeper shortly, but I do like to kind of mention these are kind of the tools we're applicable with: Airbnb, PayPal, Cash App, QuickBooks, you name it, we're probably with it. And of course, kind of just managing your day-to-day with your banking. Saad has a question. Yes.
I'd love to just, if people could chat let us know what kind of rental properties you have. That'd be great. So we can try to tailor this a little bit more for you.
Yeah, please do. And of course, we also have, with that, the accounting. I mean, I'd love to know how many of you are what are you currently using? We have a single short-term investment here. I love that. Hello, Daniel. I'd love to kind of know, how do you currently, track your expenses? Are you using other tools? Are you using spreadsheets? No bookkeeping, I've heard that before, or maybe spending a little too much on QuickBooks, not really sure. That's kind of where Baselane fits in. We have a very simple way to keep track of your rental property finances. It's super simple. I just bought a rental property myself. I bought a duplex, long-term investor here, but I totally know what my cash flow is, how much I've put into my property, how much I've been receiving in the last 6 months of owning it. just with revenue and such, because of the simplicity of our bookkeeping. I no longer have to go through a spreadsheet and make some type of Excel. I can keep everything here and really see what I've kind of, how my gross revenue is going and things like that. So love this. We also have a Schedule E report. I already have my CPA on speed dial to show them, everything that I have been tagging, and that's pretty much automated with our banking. But it's really great in the sense that it's just simple and you can be very specific on the way you're tagging, split transactions, upload receipts. It's a great way to kind of see your real-time cash flow. Daniel here is thinking of using QuickBooks, but I don't think I will need it if I go with Baselane. Exactly. Exactly. That's totally 100% true. When you use Baselane, and we'll kind of dive deeper in the demo of showing you how to automate, you're not going to need to use QuickBooks or hire a bookkeeper. And you can really do this all on the platform itself. And then lastly, that hassle-free rent collection. For those users that are on here that maybe have multiple residential investments I see, or you're a long-term investor, we definitely know that some might be collecting rent manually, like checks, Zelle, Venmo. Instead of having, various ways of collecting rent, having it on Baselane is just another way to keep this all in one platform, right? So now you can set up rent collection for your long-term, your mid-term investments, have it already tagged as rent when you receive it, as well as to a property. You don't have to sit and kind of figure out, did you get rented this month? We have a whole payment summary that's going to help you understand what is overdue, what is in transit, and what has been completed. So it's a great overview. Plus your tenants, I'm happy to say, we also offer credit boosting, rent reporting. So we do offer this to tenants when they sign up. It's super simple for them to sign up. They have access to all of their invoices, rent collection terms, a payment history, and now we are offering, credit boosting. We want to help our tenants, boost their credit. And so with Baselane, when they have on-time payments, those are reported to the 3 credit bureaus. And so essentially kind of highlighting all of this, it's an all-in-one platform. And we focus on the banking with the integrated bookkeeping and the rent collection, and kind of just want to show you, instead of using various platforms, to keep it into one product. And that's kind of where Baselane came in, saving you the time, streamlining, helping you grow, your portfolio based off of, the reporting and analytics we show. So we're always pretty visible and transparent with what you're, putting into Baselane, the ease of the product, and yeah, kind of doing a deeper dive. So that said, it's now Saad's turn to show us the demo. Excited. And before I do that, yep, I think we're good. Let's show the demo.
Okay, so we are going to be presenting, but if you have any questions and want us to go in a
Come
certain
on
area,
down.
just throw it in the chat. We'll be happy to answer any questions live. So yeah, this is one of my favorite things to do at Baselane. Larissa and I have done over, I think, a couple of thousand
Thousands.
demos at this point. We love it. It's great to interact with you directly. So thanks for being here. So I always like to start with properties because our whole system is based on having a property address, and then you'll see why that's relevant for all the different areas that we'll go through today. So always start with adding a property. We've gone ahead and added a couple already. You can add any type of property that you like, and I'll just show you one here. You can, if it's single, some of you mentioned single, so it's just the address. I would just add the complete address here. If it's a multi-unit, you can do something like this or that, and then add additional units down below. I have some sort of MTRs that are room rentals, and so it's one address, but I've got like 6 bedrooms that have their own individual units with bathrooms. So I say like room A, B, C, D, and so on. So all of that can be set up here. Pretty straightforward. If you'd like to just have some key static information, and sorry, I'm a little under the weather a little bit here, on property details. I always like to do this just so I have a little bit of view on, okay, I forget sometimes, what we bought it for and what were the all-in cost, maybe the mortgage. We have a Zillow API you can connect here. So this allows you to keep up the market value. If you didn't claim your address on Zillow, you should do that. That way it populates and make sure the bedrooms and everything is updated so it's accurate. So that's another way to keep an eye on things. we're going to be building more of sort of that balance sheet analytics view for your equity, net equity minus the debt into going into next year. But yeah, that's how you can set up the properties. Once you've done that, if you, I guess, show of hands, how many people have an LLC versus a sole proprietorship? Meaning, you registered a business for your real estate business, real estate entity, your rental properties, or you're just it's on your
Yeah.
name. Sole
Most of
prop is
them
your name.
have LLCs. They're raising their hands. Just thought I'd
Most of them
mention
have
their
a
L.
okay, okay, LLCs. Awesome.
Yep.
So like, if you have an LLC, right, you probably opened a bank account because really can't do much unless you have that bank account. If you haven't done that, you can start by using a Baseline checking account. We always like to, say that this is going to be your primary real estate LLC business account, right? And you'll see the benefits of it today, but it's super easy to start an application. We do a standard banking KYC that all banks do in the United States. Ours can be done in a couple of minutes if everything is straightforward. If your file requires manual review, it goes into, something like one business day turnaround, and it's all remote, which is the beauty. If you have a partner, if you have multiple stakeholders, you don't have to go down to a Chase branch, schedule a meeting, and then like show up and wait, spend 2 hours trying to do that. You can do it in a few minutes. Super easy. When you do that, you're gonna have a debit card shipped to you in the mail. You're gonna have the ability to set up different virtual accounts and then cards. So I'll go through that in a second. Here you'll just a dashboard of what's going on with the accounts. This is showing you different business checking accounts that we open at the parent account level. So let's just go into the long-term rental one. I'll come back and show you the short-term rental one. Here, what we've done is we have one main account under this LLC, Apex Investors. And it's really up to you how you organize your sub accounts or your virtual accounts. But there's always sort of a central operating account. I always recommend separating your security deposits. In some cases, this is the law, right? It really depends on your state. And so separate those funds out. And we'll show you how to do that automatically when you collect rent as well. Always have a maintenance reserve. We all have pro formas, right? We all project a certain number of reserves on your P&L. Make sure that you park that money aside. And then maybe there's other things like, hey, I'm saving up for my deal number 2 and 3 and so on. I really like this idea. So you have the discipline of moving money in there each month. So you're building up that cash flow for the next deal. And so again, this can be really used in many different ways. All of these accounts have their own unique account number routing number, so you can interact directly with those sub accounts. And they're super easy to set up. All you have to do is go
We
here.
partner with Thread Bank. We should also, Baselane partners with Thread Bank. So these are Thread Bank accounts. You're using Baselane to transact. So when you click on account details, you'll see, the routing number and account number assigned to Thread. You're using Baselane to do the transacting. And of course, we have an FDIC insured partner up to 3 million. But I always like to mention that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we can go into that more if you need, but yeah, so here's how to start the virtual accounts. The checking accounts, for checking, savings pays the APY if you're putting money aside, like security deposit, maintenance reserve, anything that's sort of idle, you can throw in here, I would say. And then there are auto transfers you can set up and things like that. But that's the virtual accounts. That's how you get started. And then let's say, you want to set up some virtual debit cards. You'll have a physical debit card, but the virtual debit cards have some features as well that are really important. So let's take an example of operating account, and I want to connect it to a certain property. Let's say you only have one, you want to connect it to this one. What this does is it says all of the transactions, debits and credits into that account are always going to be for this address, or it could be the unit. It doesn't have to be that overall address. It could be the individual unit. You can then also map debit cards that are virtual to that account. So the source of the funding is here, and you're using, let's say, utilities, you're paying the water bill or something like that. You're going to tag it to that property as well. And you can set up a rule that says, I always want this to be tagged as utilities, gas, and electric. What this does is, one, the reconciliation is happening because the operating account is always Mayfield. So you never have to figure out what the address is for that property, especially if you have multiple units. And then this also maps it to the same address, the same thing. So your reconciliation is done. And then now with this virtual debit card, if I'm paying the bills with this, I've got a category already pre-tagged. So as you pay the bills, auto pay or whatever, it's always going to tag it there. So your bookkeeping is kind of getting done. So that's one way to do it. I'll go back to short-term rentals for a second because I think some people mentioned short-term rentals. Here, if you're an Airbnb host, co-host, whatever, you can have just one account or you can have multiple accounts. I like to have it at the listing level. So within Airbnb or other platforms like Verbo, you can, for that listing, you can determine where the money goes that you earn. And so you can set up a virtual account like this, where you have, I mean, we're just using a demo, so it's the same address, but you set up your listing and you map it to the address of that listing. And so all of your revenue from that third party platform like Airbnb comes into here. And then with STR, there's more expenses, right? Every month you have supplies, cleaning fees, probably some maintenance, and so on. And so property management. And so you're probably going to use more of those virtual debit cards. I like to use the debit cards even to pay for utilities just because I don't want to deal with the bookkeeping hassle. I don't want to sit there and figure out what water bill went to what, address. I want to pre-set it up, configure it, and have it auto pay. And then if I set it up the right way with the right listing or property address, and I select the right category, I don't have to do any of the bookkeeping. It's getting done for me, right? So that's kind of what I do. And again,
I
you can
would.
set it up for many different things like property management. If you have a property manager,
Mm.
cleaning. So one thing before Larissa jumping in, cleaning is a big thing, right? And you're going to be paying your cleaners. Cleaners like to get paid on the spot. My property manager, what we've done is we issued her a virtual debit card with a limit on it, and you can set the limits here. And I gave her the card number. She's got it plugged into like a Venmo or a Cash App, right? And she can use that to pay the cleaner on the spot, basically. And again, because I've set it up the right way with cleaning and maintenance as a category, no bookkeeping getting done. It's basically I don't have to do anything manually. It's already being tagged. And so we'll go into why that's useful in terms of the analytics. But let me pause here and see if there's more questions. And Larissa, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. No, definitely. I agree with that. And I also have a property manager and they have a virtual card because I was tired of receiving statements. And now I have a limit and they can only exceed that limit. So I think it's also great if you have a team and you want to hand off specific cards for them, you have the control to set the limits, which accounts, as well as, archiving if needed or terminating and locking if necessary. That said, I did have a question about, or we have a question here about profit first. And
Yeah.
I had initially set up Profit First on another online thread bank where primary income account is distributed monthly by percentages into sub accounts or OPEX, taxes, etc. Does Baselane also help setting up accounts in this manner?
Yeah, no, great question. We've actually spoken to the founder of Profit First and try to like establish a partnership with their team. We worked with them a little bit on that. Um, Basically, anything related to Profit First can be done here. Here's an example of an account that we set up. We don't have it out of the box where you just click and we're not there yet, but you can set up these accounts, and this is an example of how you can set it up. Now, with real estate, rental properties, those accounts and allocations for Profit First are going to be a little bit different than, the generic small business Profit First. And I think we have some blog content about that. And we worked with Rocky Levaney and a couple of other people that are more rental property owners that did Profit First to develop this view, which is a little bit more customized to real estate. So you have the PITI and property management in here. You've got profits, you've got vacancy reserves, repair reserves, and things like that, security deposits. So it's a little bit of a hybrid. And you pipe the income into this account here, and then you move them into the sub accounts. Now, you could set it up by having sort of these auto transfers. And in fact, the founder of Profit First told us that they liked Baselane because at that time, we didn't have auto transfer. We do have that now, but they recommend not doing auto transfer. They recommend that you manually move that money each month so you're aware of what's going on and you're planning and adjusting as you go. And so, it's up to you. You can do both ways, but this is an example of those accounts that are set up. And, if you want to move money, you can just go here and transfer funds. And you can go from, something like this. I'm just going to do a quick example to this. And you can set up this is what I'm talking about. You can do one time, which is manual, which the profit first founders recommended, or you can do recurring, which is something like this and schedule it and so on, right? So that's possible. I hope I covered that question. The
Yeah.
profit first. We have an article where we spent more time thinking about how profit first should be for rental properties for smaller investors, not like institutional investors. And so if you want to check that out, that might be helpful because it's not like what people write in the books and what's on all these podcasts. We went and did some research on modifying it. And we have a webinar with Rocky Levani that's on our YouTube channel that goes into that more detail of that if you want to check that out.
I've just
Okay, so
posted the blog on the
awesome.
chat. So we
Thank you.
have the blog and I also put the YouTube. I also want to just highlight with the banking, it's a fully operational bank account, right? We have free ACH, free wire transfers for a limited time, checks sent so we can send the checks for you for a small fee. And of course, we also have checkbooks. So that's kind of something I want to mention. We also are kind of going to provide faster options like same day ACH. These are all a la carte features, but I do like to highlight, this is a fully operational bank that does have those types of transfers.
Yeah, that's excellent. We're building same day ACH, so that's coming soon. Wires are $0 right now until another 2 months or so. And it'll be roughly around that $15 range going forward, which is a lot more affordable than your average bank wire fees. And then, like Larissa said, you can order checks. You can have a checkbook which you can use, or you can have checks sent through us directly as well in the mail. So both those options are available
Perfect.
to you. And so pretty much, yeah, anything you need in and out is there. And let
Let's
me, yeah,
get into the bookkeeping because I have a
yeah.
lot of
So
questions about bookkeeping, I will
yep.
say
So
too.
basically, before I go into that, the beauty of the Baselane system is like you have our banking and then bookkeeping, we built it. So there's no connection that's going to break, right? 100% of the data is always there. We've all obviously built external connections using Plaid. And so you can really add any financial account you want for credit card, another checking account, and so on in here. And that will work and it'll do well. But sometimes there's smaller banks that Plaid doesn't have the connections with sometimes, and they might break. And we're relying on Plaid to fix it. And so, having baseline banking eliminates that layer, and you can just have direct 100% data completeness. Once you connect the accounts, we have a master ledger here that you can pull everything into. This is based on sort of one-click accounting and not double journal entry to make it easy for you. You can, if you're starting out, I think it's important to mention that you can import transactions, right? So we have this feature for import CSV right here. And if you're just getting started and you had some stuff from before, you can do it that way. If you're connecting an older business checking account, and you're moving things over, you can connect that checking account through Plaid in here in the external account section. It will import up to about 2 years of data. It doesn't happen right away. It takes some time, a couple of minutes to 30 minutes sometimes, and it'll come in here. And from here, you can start organizing things. So in the beginning, if you're just getting started with Baselane and you're trying to get things set up, if you do the CSV import, it'll allow you to auto tag things like through the upload. You can like set things up and upload them. That might be faster to do it that way. If you already have stuff pulling in here and you want to bulk edit stuff, you can search for stuff like Home Depot or whatever the common things are, your mortgage company, and you can select things and tag them. So you can go like that. You can, edit them here and edit the category in one go. That'll save you some time. And you can also manually add transactions. So if you like to add, you can do that here. You can also split transactions. And so if you spent money on a purchase, but it was for multiple short-term rentals or multiple properties, you can pick anything. Let's say I'm just
Yeah.
gonna pick this one, and you can go here and split the transaction right here. And so those are sort of the core features. There's all kinds of filters and things like that by date, by account, and all of that is here. You can hide transactions. You can only look at the uncategorized versus categorized transactions. You can upload receipts as you've seen in the other preview here and put that in here. So all that is there. We're building machine learning based auto tagging right now, so that'll be out soon. I can't tell you like how much of that is going to cover like the manual work that doesn't get tagged. We're gonna build it and iterate through it, but that's in the roadmap right now and literally getting built. So that'll be the next big feature that comes out here. And
Yes.
then let me see here. So from here, we now we have everything here and we're categorizing things and things like that, right? So that's happening. If you recall, if you set up the banking the right way, you should be getting a lot of auto tagging done through those rules I showed you earlier because you really need to spend a little bit of time setting that up and then it'll help you categorize a lot of those by itself. And my
Right.
favorite part is when we start looking at what we're earning.
Ox Road.
And so let me go to one of these properties. So it's a demo account. So we have one that's set up probably better than the rest. And so you can, again, any property, any unit level analysis you want to do, you can do it here, right? And you
Right.
can do all, you can do one, you can do, mix it up. You can pick a few preset reports, or you can just, I like to always look at the mortgage payments, for example, or what did I pay for cleaning for all my STRs? And I always look to do those kind of analysis. How much did I pay on management fees? You can filter for those too if you want. Or you can just say, I want to look at NOI, right? What's going on with that? Am I making money? Am I profitable? And what this does is it'll show you that view and income and expenses, and you can audit those expenses and see where the money's going. And if you've made a mistake on the bookkeeping, you can go down here, and this is a good way to test everything is, looking good and make sure it's not like duplicative or like something is missing, right? And then you can go into the cash flow statement. And let me try another one, Larissa, because I wanted to show one that had more
Mm,
expenses. I think it was McCoy
try
Loop that
McCoy
we,
Loop. Yeah, do McCoy Loop.
yeah. Let me do this one. So then you'll be able to see a proper income statement. You have the revenue, we have the operating expenses, right? And I was looking at NOI, and so that's why it's just showing that. But sometimes it'll show if you want to just do everything, you could do it that way, and you'll see everything here. You can download
Right.
this and export this for your lender, for your partner, for your owners, if you're doing reports for them, and so on. Now, you'll notice that we also have a tax package. This is for end of year when everything is in and it's categorized and you're going to be exporting it for your CPA. Uh, we'll have a 2024 filter, let's say, for the end of the year in January, right? Right now, it's still for the previous year, or you can set the dates and then you can actually export this at the property level, which is what your CPA probably wants because the Schedule E and their tax software requires individual address level inputs. So you can pick a property, it'll export a bunch, all the transactions, all the receipts, as well as the Schedule E for that property and push it to your, to a zip file and you can send it to your CPA. What we're going to be building next beyond this is balance sheet, which you don't see here yet. And so that'll be sort of the next big build in the reporting side probably sometime in Q1. We don't have a hard deadline on that one yet. And
Right.
going back to some questions I saw earlier in terms
Yes.
of the type of expenses, right? So uh, you can have all of your P&L here, revenue expenses. There's all kinds of expenses in here. We have 120 plus categories, right? The reality is your CPA doesn't really need all this detail. They just need the Schedule E level detail, which will look like something like this. This is the level that they care about. If you want to go deeper and have more insights, you can go deeper, right? Um, so you have all of these expenses
I do have
here.
some specific questions about that. And I'm wondering,
Yeah,
Saad is a
let's do it.
former CPA, might I add. So one of our guests here is wondering how best to track and manage occupancy taxes. Airbnb collects local 6%, but not my city's additional 9%. I need to report and submit monthly taxes, and I would like to know how Baselane can help with the monthly tax reporting.
Who's paying the occupancy tax? Are you saying it's going through Airbnb or you're paying it?
A good question, Daniel. If Daniel, feel free to let us know in the chat. But let's just say, you know, Airbnb is collecting the 6%. I'm assuming Airbnb must be paying it, but Airbnb
Yeah,
collects the local 6%, but maybe he's responsible for the additional 9%. So
yeah.
how are we
So
going to report that specific?
I mean, we have a category here under taxes that says short-term occupancy taxes. So if you're paying it, you would simply just select this and match it to the payment for that expense that you have.
Great. Yes, and
Yep.
we have confirmation that Airbnb collects and pays local. So thank you for that. Another question here is, where do we add categories if it's not existing yet?
Yeah, we don't have that feature. What you can do is send us the categories that you want added. We're trying to refresh them quarterly so that if we missed anything, we can add. If you have an idea what it is, you can send it here and we'll add it to the future roadmap. Uh, but you know, in the roadmap on this part of the house, as we build the machine learning, we're gonna have rule-based tagging, so you can set rules for, hey, if it contains this thing, always tag it as, this type of expense or income. And then I think the next iteration beyond that is going to be like allowing you to add like a custom category. Basically, that doesn't exist yet. So if you have some ideas of what that is, you can send it to us. If you don't find it in the list of the 120 that we have here, you can tag something as other, for example, at the moment. I know that's not ideal, and add a note to it. And
Yeah,
again, in your, what your CPA is getting and what they report, it looks like this, right? Like the reason we mapped Schedule E to every single thing is because they're just going to care about this level of expenses, not deeper than that, because that's what goes on
right,
the actual schedule when you file it. And so if you have anything else that's not you're not seeing, your CPA is probably going to put it on other anyway. Just letting you know, right? They're not going to bucket it into, if it's none of these things, they're going to put it into other.
right. And also, just like another quick thing, somebody is actually using Relay and wanted to know if they can export my Relay transactions and import to Baselane when they're starting. And a couple of things, I checked on Plaid, and you can actually connect your Relay bank account to Baselane via Plaid and get those transactions imported. Very simple process, probably the easiest one. But also, you can, download your transactions through Relay if it's a CSV and import it that way. But I felt like, feel free to do that as well. And then another question about adding a credit card product soon. That is a good question. Credit
Yeah, that's a great
cards.
question. We are offering rental property loans of all types through some of our correspondent partners. We do not have any solid plans for offering a credit card yet. We'll let you know when we do. I mean, we really ask that you submit the feature request because that helps us build a roadmap
Yeah,
business case for it. We really are very customer centric, so we literally look at that feature roadmap and look at the volume of requests for certain topics and then
right.
try to figure out how we're going to solve for it, like tenant screening, for example, which is launching in a week or so.
Next week.
Um,
And
but yeah, there's some,
I did share the roadmap. So you guys can definitely
yeah,
go in, upvote. It's okay if you're not with Baselane. We want to get that feedback and also see, what's going on with Baselane. What is in review? What have we built? Yes, the roadmap link is is in the chat already. So you can click features.baselane.com and it's going to take you to our feature board and the roadmap. It will say roadmap. So it is linked there
yeah,
already. Just wanted to mention that as well. So perfect. Thank
yeah.
you.
So, on the just to wrap this up, this is all the things you have here. You can export all of this. We're gonna build more of that reporting side of things. As first is automation. Once we figure that out, then we'll build the reporting that is not here yet, like a balance sheet, etc., into this part of the product. And then, last section I wanted to cover is online rent collection. This is relevant for you if you are a long-term rental owner or a mid-term rental owner. And I'll just kind of go through how this works. So set up rent collection. We'll just take one as an example. You can really, it's quite flexible and you can do fixed or month to month. So if you're doing midterms and it's only like 3 months, 6 months, you can do that. If it's 12 months, you can do that, right? All of that's here. You enter your rent amount, and I'll just do month to month just to make it easy. You can add any type of recurring fee that you want, parking fee, pet fee, whatever, right? For example, and then rent is due, let's say on the first. You can add a late fee that you charge, and let's say it's it goes like that. Um, rent is Oh, I didn't start the lease
But you
start
didn't put
date.
the start date. Yeah.
Let's say it's that, all right? And you can collect security deposit. Let's just say it's the same as a rent. It's due before they move in. You can mark it manually paid if you need to. You can collect last month's rent upfront as well if you'd like to do that. And again, let's just say it's due the same day the security deposit is due. You can prorate it if you want as well, if you need to do that. That calculation requires right now you to manually calculate it. We'll work on that. Um, and then if you want to do any sort of one-time fees like application fee, move-in fee, and so on, you can do that here. One
Right.
thing I think we should talk about is a late fee. We are going to build more flexible late fee options that allow you to charge in different ways instead of just one, late fee per month. That's a fixed number. So that's being
Yes,
worked on.
we got a question about that, so that's good. Yes, so right now you can add a one time after, you know, as your example here, Yosef, 7 days. In the future, we will add, more flexibility to the late fees, whether that's one-time late fees, percentages. So that would fit your after 15 days. That said, I would want to say if a invoice is overdue, you have the flexibility to add additional fees if needed, and Saad would go into that more.
Yeah. Um, and also in this area of the product, we are going to be looking into other things like flexible rent, where the landlord gets paid up front and the tenant, if they need to do weekly rent payments or something like that. We're exploring that as a solution as well because there's a demand for that on the tenant side. Yeah, so we see all the invoices generated. I did month to month, so it's only showing you three, but of course, as the next invoice comes due, it'll auto fire like the February 1 invoice, for example. So the security deposit, the last month's rent, that first rent, and as it goes. If you do the full lease, 12-month, it'll show all the invoices that generate for that. Then you determine where the money's going. So let's say you already had a, you know, account set up for that entity and you want to collect money to that. Let's say you already have your Baselane security deposit account set up because you know how to do that. You can find that account. We have so many demo accounts. So here's an example of that. All right. So I'm going to separate the funds right up front. You can also add a new account, right? So if you don't have a Baselane banking account, you want to start here, you can create it from here. If you want to connect an existing account to get started, you can do that as well. The benefit of going into Baselane banking is that with the external accounts, if you're collecting rent into them, and their tenant's paying with ACH, there's a $2 fee for the tenant. If you are using the Baselane banking account, that fee is waived. And so there's a benefit for you there. Obviously, there's a lot more features we already talked about on the higher APY and so on that's here. And then with Baselane, the money movement is also faster. First time rent payments are always going to take a few days longer. It's about 5 business days. We don't get into the details of that on purpose, but there's fraud and security things that we do that are always going to be there. So the first ever payment is never going to be 2 days. That just doesn't work. Eventually, once we get comfortable with your tenant, which is usually month 1 or 2, usually like month 2 and onwards, no red flags, then we are going to do that faster rail option here, right? There's more details behind this that we can send you, but that's another big benefit of using Baselane banking. So you can add a tenant, pretty simple, or pick an existing one that you've already added, and everything is reviewed. You confirm, you get a link. Email will fire to the tenant from us directly, or you can take a link and send them a text message or whatever, and invite them to sign up. On the tenant side, is pretty basic. You log in, you set up your payment method, and you can do manual or auto pay for rent payments. That's pretty much it. Now that we've added rent reporting on the tenant side, tenants can also see the option to opt into reporting their rent to the bureaus through us for a $5 monthly fee. And that helps them boost their credit and also helps you because they'll be paying on time and incentivized to do so. And so that's a new feature. It's been really doing well. Lots of tenants are opting into that, which is great to see.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's an added benefit that the landlord gets, and you don't have to pay for it because it's built into Baselane. If you're offering renters insurance, we do have that, and we send that through email. We are planning to build something where you can require renters insurance here. and make that a requirement. And so the tenant has to like show that and show the proof and all that. That's not built yet. Right now, we just send them to a partner called Shore, and they can get their renter's insurance there. We didn't cover everything here. This was just the highlights. You can set up a
Mm,
lease and get it e-signed through Baselane. Tenant screening will be launched in about a week, and so you'll be able to screen tenants, then have a lease document generated. We use Rocket Lawyer's APIs for that, and you have your state level lease from there. Right now, that's also free for now. It'll be a reasonable cost per once we start charging for that. You can generate the lease document and get it e-signed with your tenants inside of Baselane, and then you can set up the rent collection. So all three of those
right.
things are possible pretty much starting next week with the tenant screening launch. And then the tenants will be able to do the rent payments as well as the rent reporting to boost their credit.
Yes. A couple of things I just want to answer here and also just highlight before I go into that. I'm not sure. The last thing I would say is we also have flexibility with one-time fees, right? Your tenants, you have a repair, you need to charge them. Maybe your tenants, want bi-monthly payments. You can add one-time fees, something along those lines. There is an ease of that. We also will notify your tenant when new invoices arise that maybe are not within the rent collection. Maybe you bill them for utilities, things like that. I'm not sure if you highlighted that payment summary as well outside of the one-time fees here. That's probably one of my
Yeah,
favorite things of the rent
yeah.
collection.
The one-time invoice happens a lot. Like my tenant broke a shower door that was a glass door. They had to get an invoice for that, right? And so you can send it this way and add it into
Yeah,
the flow. And then this shows you like the summary of where the money's at, what's up upcoming, what's processing in
in
flight, what's
transit. Yeah,
overdue, and what's been completed. And this is for this month, right? If you want to look at previous months and you get behind, you can look at that too. For example,
filter.
this one's all time because we want to show you all the invoices that are overdue, and you can have a full list. Because usually for us, right, the owners, you're trying to figure out who's overdue and make sure they pay, right? That's one of the first things you
Right.
do always, and then you look at everything else. And so this is a dashboard that allows you to do that. And this obviously there's only one right here, but if you had more, it would show up here.
Right. And then lastly, how do I set up a tenant via Section 8? My tenant has no contribution to the rent. It's 100% from the government. I would say there's a few different workarounds here. Obviously, the rent collection, you would need to invite a tenant. My suggestion is open a Baselane banking account, create a virtual bank account, have it dedicated to that Section 8 property. You can then have the government direct deposit. I'm pretty sure that that occurs. And I think Saud, you also
Yeah,
have Section 8 tenants.
it
And you
depends
could keep
on
track
yeah,
there. Hmm.
it depends on how you're getting paid. If it's just a check, I don't know what the mechanism is. You can just mobile check deposit into like any
Right.
bank account here. And if it's possible to get the ACH type transfer, you can create one of these accounts like Larissa's saying here,
Right.
add a virtual account, name it something, like Section 8, unit number, whatever, right? And you can select the property that it's for or even the unit that it's for. So it's pre-tagged. And that's pretty much it's as simple as that. Um,
Yeah. Exactly. So that would be kind of something I would mention. Another great question that came in is also like multi-user access, right? Do we have the option to show, partners, visibility, CPAs, bookkeepers with Baselane? Like, what does that look like? The question was more like, I have various partners, so how do I, share certain ones and maybe not all accounts and things like that?
Yeah, so we did launch multi-user access a couple of months back, and there's sort of like two access levels at the moment. Essentially, the way we thought about it is one is related to banking and money movement, right? That's the highest risk area, and that's sort of the full access account, which has that and everything else. There's another access where they can access like the bookkeeping and things like that, but they can't and do anything inside of your banking, money movement, stuff like that. And so that's sort of the general, setup of how it works. And there's a couple of use cases you can invite your partner, your spouse, things like that, right? That's where you can have equal access. That's one way to do it. if you have a virtual assistant, like I have a an employee in the Philippines, for example, he does a lot of the, like day to day and checking on the bookkeeping, making sure it's clean. Um, he's got limited access on that side, for example, right now. And we'll iterate on this more. We're going to add more flexibility to it. So if you want somebody to be able to pay vendors only from a one account and not all accounts, and that account has permissions, you'll be able to do that. That's not built yet, but that's something that we have planned. So that's kind of how it works, high level. I don't know, Larissa, you want to add anything else there?
Yeah, I think no, it's exactly. I mean, I think what's nice about Baselane is, and we've kind of stressed this in our demo here, is we value the feedback. Everything that we have built has been the feedback of our users. So, we'll deliver one, version and then continue to advance it. But it is something we're going to go through. Another question that came in is, do we have a mobile app? And nope, at
Yeah,
this
so
time we
just
do not, but it is
yeah,
in
just
production. Yes, go for it.
I got kicked out of the demo account. So yeah, there
That's
was
okay.
yeah, let me see if I can log back in. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. No, what I was going to say is, Baselane is mobile friendly. You can do a lot of the transacting and most of the, Baselane bookkeeping, things like that on mobile, upload receipts. I think one of my favorites is if I'm going to a store, I have a receipt in hand. I don't have to go to my desktop. I can take a picture on my phone and upload it to that pending transaction. So there is a lot of ability to transact with our, mobile with our, with Baselane on mobile. It's just there isn't an app as of yet, but that is also something that is in development, and something that, our users do want to have, and it is definitely coming.
Yeah, yeah, I think yeah, just on mobile app will most likely be a big build in 2025. We have not put a timeline on it yet, but that's sort of our rough thinking. A lot of functionality is built into the browser, mobile web browser, as Larissa mentioned. You can bookmark it and save it down and use it that way. That's how I use it today. So we'll keep you updated. So it's on the roadmap. You can submit more feature requests where it helps with the prioritization, and
Right.
we'll definitely get to that. I just wanted to show you the multi-user access. So if you can see this right here, you can invite a collaborator through here, and then you can see we've got a couple that we've invited, for example, and you can see that the role of that too. This person has standard access, not limited access. And so if you want to do something like, uh, I'll just do one like this as an example, continue. You can, uh, for example, they'll have access to the bookkeeping and rent collection, which is usually where the virtual assistants are doing the work anyway. And you can do something like this, limited. That's the functionality right now, or full, which if it's your partner or somebody like that. And so those are the two options. Like I said, we'll build it in a way that for specific bank accounts, you'll be able to give access to move money and things like that to bookkeepers or VAs, people that are working with you in your team, depending on who they are as
Nice.
well. So this is the first iteration, and we'll evolve into that soon.
Cool. Awesome. And then the last question is Baselane available in the Philippines bank? Um, so Baselane is a domestic, our banking partner thread. It's a domestic bank. So it is just through the US. We do know that there are international investors out there and they might want to have a business bank account in the US. They live abroad. We do recommend using Wise. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar, but Wise is a product that you can use to send various transfers like wire, ACH, from your international bank into your US bank and kind of also save on fees. So definitely something to also look into, but Baselane is a US bank. And yeah, that is kind of the
Yeah, and
questions and the demo. Mhm.
if you have team members in the Philippines or other countries, like they'll get access. They do need a voice over IP type phone number, right, to be able to 2FA like login credential into Baselane. And once we get to know you a little bit better and everything is secure, we can allow some whitelisting of phone numbers so that your foreign team, BA, bookkeeper, whatever, is not getting blocked. Like my employee is in the Philippines, so she's, for the real estate business. So she's there and she has her own like number that she uses to authenticate, for example, that we purchased. So that's definitely
Awesome.
possible. Just let us know if you have any questions on that. And yeah, we'll like I said, we kind of talk about all the roadmap features, but I always emphasize go to the feature.baseline.com and give us more feedback, ideas. You can upvote, you can like other feature requests, or you can submit new ones, and we'll continue taking your feedback and building.
Amazing. Also, I've just provided in the chat, we will send the recording. If you have any questions, please reach out to support@baselane.com or Success. I do manage both of those teams, and I'll be happy to connect. I will send a calendar if you ever want to have a one-on-one, but really appreciate your time, your questions, and very much excited to have you get started with Baselane. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Saad, thank you so much for your time, and have a great one. Thanks again. Take
Thank you,
care.
everyone. Take care. Have a good one.
Bye. Bye-bye.